Hey Miami Lakers, welcome to our COVID-19 update here at Community. I'm joined by our town manager, Ed Peterman. We couldn't do it yesterday. Our town committees were meeting yesterday, meaning that our Facebook Live capacity was taken up by our committees. That's one of the commitments that we made to our community, make sure that everything that we do as much as possible is transparent to the public, including not only town council meetings, but our planning and zoning board and every single committee that we have here in our community that utilizes the people's money. So that's part of the transparency initiative, the accessibility that we have here in our town, and the commitment that we have to you all. Bienvenidos, residentes de nuestra comunidad. Gracias por estar con nosotros hoy para hablar de lo que está pasando en nuestra comunidad con el coronavirus. Si tienen otras preguntas, otras cosas también, empiecen preguntándolos. Start submitting your questions right now. One of the stats that I saw yesterday really stuck out to me. 0.6% of Americans live in long-term care facilities here in the United States. Yet, 43% of COVID deaths here in the United States are some of those Americans. They account for 43% of COVID deaths. The 0.6% that live in long-term care facilities. Meaning, we got to make sure that we take care of our seniors. I think you're starting to see public policy really geared towards making sure that we take care of the folks that are in our long-term care facilities. They are extremely vulnerable to COVID-19, and that's one of the reasons why we want to make sure that everybody keeps wearing their masks. Because yes, the vast majority of us, the vast majority of people in our society, if we have COVID-19, like you saw our vice mayor had COVID-19, yet he barely had any symptoms. I think he had a headache or whatnot, and many folks are asymptomatic. But you can pass that along to somebody that it can hurt. It can hurt them. If you're visiting a loved one at one of these long-term care facilities, if you're talking to some of the seniors, that's the most vulnerable population in our society. So we got to make sure that we continue to help them. Lo que estaba diciendo también que 0.6% de los americanos, de todos los americanos, viven en lo que se llaman long-term care facilities, lugares donde para personas mayores, donde los ayudan por mucho tiempo, pero de esa población de 0.6% de los americanos, 43% son las personas que se han morido del coronavirus. So, tenemos que estar seguros que ayudamos a la población de los seniors, de las personas mayores aquí en nuestra comunidad, para estar seguros. La mayoría de las personas, como vieron el vicealcalde aquí en nuestra ciudad, no van a tener síntomas, nada va a pasar, pero si llega una persona que está infecciosa y se la da a una persona mayor, ahí puede haber muchos problemas. So, tenemos que estar seguros que estemos bien. Before we get to our update, the other numbers, the data. One thing that I really want to stress, and this is I talk to our town manager and staff about, is digging deep into the data. There's no issue in Miami-Dade County when it comes to ICU bed capacity. I looked at that data yesterday. I looked at it today. There's still thousands of beds available, and some that can be converted into ICU. The same thing with ventilators. The other good stat that we're seeing is that a lot of people, yes, there's a lot of folks going into hospitals, but there is almost the same amount some days of folks that are getting discharged. So we're starting to see that, which is a good sign. People that are getting healed and getting back to society that no longer have COVID. So that's so important. So yes, the rate of infection is so important, but also the hospitalization rate and digging deeper into those numbers and seeing what's going on. I know at the beginning of the coronavirus, they had, and Mr. Manager, correct me if I'm wrong, I think at the youth fair there was a huge field hospital at a convention center. There was another one in Broward. There was no use for them. They had to take them down because there was sufficient capacity in our hospitals if there was any issue. And that was one of the main reasons why we had to flatten the curve at the beginning to get where we're at today. But we'll dig deeper into what's going on here in the town in terms of what the cases are, what's happening with our programs, why we can't still open up our playgrounds. Those are things that we'll delve into right now, Mr. Manager.
Yeah, I just wanted to start off by saying the number from the state Department of Health today is that 96 people who are Miami Lakes residents throughout the entire time that we've been dealing with this pandemic, 96 people have tested positive for the coronavirus. Le quería decir que desde el principio del pandémico han habido 96 personas residentes de Miami Lakes que han probado, que han sido positivos para el virus. the one thing I wanted to kind of piggyback on what you were saying, Mayor, is the fact that the reason why we went through all of the suffering early on, quarantining, staying at home, shutting down businesses, was for exactly where we are now. The information that the mayor provided is so true and yet so important, right? The fact that still today, well into 3 months into this pandemic, we are still not overwhelming our hospitals. And that is why we went through all of the heartache, all of the suffering that we did early on, was to get to this point. Nobody ever intended, I don't think anybody ever thought that we were not going to have people getting the disease. What they did not want was too many people all at once at the beginning that were going to really tax and challenge our resources. What we did early on is why we are today, where the hospitals, ICU beds, they all still have capacity, is because of all the hard work that the residents, the business owners, everybody did early on, and that's why we're not overwhelming our resources here today.
So, Mr. Manager, you want to talk about that in Spanish? How many cases? ¿Cuántos casos hay aquí en nuestra comunidad? ¿Qué está pasando? Habla de los parques, cuándo van a morir los columpios, los parques de los niños que no están muriendo todavía. ¿Qué está pasando con eso?
Sí, han habido, yo hablé hace un segundo que tenemos 96 casos que se han sido positivos, confirmados aquí en la ciudad de Miami Lakes, pero eso es, quiero volver a repetir, que lo que he dicho otras veces, esto no quiere decir que hay 96 personas actualmente con el virus. Eso quiere decir que desde hace 3 meses, desde el principio del pandémico han habido 96 personas que han probado positivo. La gran mayoría de esas personas ya se han recuperado, no están en el hospital, no están enfermos, ya han regresado a su comunidad, a su casa, ya están, que no son infecciosos. Lo que estamos esperando, han habido últimamente, y se esperaba, cuando empezaban a abrir las cosas, los negocios, los parques, se esperaba que iba a haber un poquito de aumento en los casos. También eso es debido a la cantidad de exámenes que se están dando. Mucha gente que ni siquiera han tenido síntomas están tomando la prueba y han sido negativos. Con el aumento de exámenes va a haber aumento de gente comprobado positivo. Pero eso se esperaba, y lo que estamos esperando que eso se nivele y pare de aumentar. Ya estamos viendo que estatalmente y aquí también en el condado de Miami-Dade eso se está nivelando.
So that's great news when we keep seeing that. And just a reminder, I mean, when Miami-Dade County did their COVID-19 study, specifically on the antibodies, I believe it was between 6 and 7% of people in our communities, based on those studies and that sample size, that have the antibody. When we did our own here in the town of Miami Lakes, it was closer to 3%. So I think it's safe to say between 2,000 Miami Lakers to about 900 Miami Lakers, and anywhere in between, have probably at one point or another had coronavirus, asymptomatic, and they have the antibody based on those sample sizes that we saw countywide and even here locally. So yeah, we just got to keep being vigilant, keep wearing your mask. That's the most important thing that you can do. Something else, while other cities have done it, that's something we haven't done, neither has the county, is mandating wearing masks 24/7, meaning there's cities that are mandating just to go outside and throw away your trash or whatever, to have your mask on and stuff like that. That's something we're not going to do. But any indoor facility that you're going to in our community, you have to wear a mask, right? Yeah. Any park that you're going to in our community, you have to wear a mask. So yeah, there are certain activities like just walking your dog and whatnot that you don't have to wear a mask. But when it comes into going to any indoor facility in our community, not town-owned, just in general, every business, every private building, you have to wear a mask. Any park, you have to wear a mask. So I know there's some confusion yesterday. The town is working with the county, yes, on these types of things. So just, stay informed on that part, because we will be reaching out and sharing any information. But as of right now, that is not a mandate here in our community.
Yeah, I think that it's really a testament to, from the beginning, Mayor, you probably have seen it, right? Miami Lakers have taken this very seriously, right? And they have, without having a policeman on every corner, Miami Lakers have been really diligent about observing social distancing, hand washing, and more importantly, because this is spread primarily through respiratory transmission. All of our Miami Lakers, you see it everywhere. You go to a store, you go to the supermarket, anywhere you go, you see people I've even seen them by themselves driving in a car and they're wearing their mask. So I think that it's a testament that why the numbers here in Miami Lake, they are significant, right? So we have had 96. But when you compare it to other cities with similar populations, our infection rate is really low compared to other cities that are similar size to us.
Una cosa que queremos hablar, yo sé que ayer había mucha discusión, hay ciudades que están mandando que tienen que tener una máscara en todo lo que hacen, si van a salir de la casa, hacer cualquier cosa, tienen que tener una máscara. Aquí en la ciudad de Miami Lakes esa regulación no existe, pero lo que sí existe, si entran a cualquier edificio del gobierno, de edificio privado, tienen que tener una máscara. Si van al doctor, tienen que tener una máscara. Si van al supermercado, tienen que tener una máscara. Si van a comer, tienen que tener una máscara. Si van al parque, tienen que tener una máscara. Pero si van a salir de su casa a caminar en el perro y eso, no, obviamente no tienen que tener una máscara aquí en la ciudad de Miami Lakes, pero les pedimos que siempre que usen el sentido común. Si ven que hay muchas personas caminando, no vayan para allá y eso. Pero las regulaciones que existen en otras ciudades no existen aquí, porque los residentes de nuestra comunidad desde el principio, y como dijo el administrador, siempre trabajaron bien cerca con la ciudad para estar seguros que esos números no crecieron tan rápido. Tenemos una ciudad de 35,000 habitantes cerca de eso, y nada más que hay 90 y pico casos confirmados aquí en nuestra comunidad. Eso gracias a todos de nuestros residentes. Brandon, are there any questions?
Yes, so Rudy asked, can I walk my dog without a mask? But Mr. Mayor, you already answered that question. He says, thank you. We also have another resident that asks, Alice, do you have any insights on the increased COVID numbers from this past week?
Yeah, I think that we saw this probably about a month ago, Mayor. You'll remember that we were having several days with 0, 0, 0, 1, 2, very low numbers, and then all of a sudden over a weekend, we had this big number that hit, I think it was 13 or 14 from one day to the next over the weekend. And what that happened was, it was a big data dump that happened at the state level, and they had results that they had not put into their system. I believe that what we've seen since the end of last week to the beginning of this week was something similar, right? So we had a slightly larger than normal increase, and I believe that that is related to the state and their reporting system, and they had a large data dump that happened over the last few days, and that's why we've seen this little aberration, this little blip that we've seen, which is a little higher than normal.
Yeah, one of the good things that's happening too, it's contact tracing, right? Okay, we saw it here in the town of Miami Lakes with our vice mayor. He knew where he was exposed at based on his timeline, and then everybody after that, he had called them, informed them, but you're starting to see more of that throughout our society. Once one person gets infected, they're making phone calls and calling everybody else and tracing it back and getting more and more people tested, which is so important, and tracing those folks going back and making sure that that infection doesn't continue spreading. Yes, will the infection rate go up? Yes, because of that contact tracing. But at the same time, we're making sure that long term it doesn't keep exponentially growing. But we are seeing, which is good, the mortality rate keep going smaller and smaller and smaller. It's still very, very dangerous, specifically to the elderly. I shared that at the beginning, but we got to make sure that we continue getting tested, continue making sure that we wear a mask, because we know, even though the manager and I are right here doing the video, we both have our mask on. So we know that if he has his mask on and I have our mask on, and just say one of us would have it, it is almost impossible for us to share it to each other because we're wearing our mask. So that's why it's so important for you to keep wearing your mask when you go out and about and you have contact with non-family members. You know, that's something that's so important. Anything else, Brandon?
I don't see any other questions from Facebook or Twitter.
Okay, we'll give you another minute. Let us know if you have any questions. Anything else you want to add? Una cosa importante que la pregunta era sobre los números, porque los números han crecido aquí en nuestra comunidad y han crecido por todo el estado y específicamente en Miami-Dade County. Yo sé que tenía Mr. Manager.
Sí, quería avisar que el número de hoy el reporte estatal de 96 ha sido un poquito de un aumento grande, relativamente grande desde el fin de semana. Fue lo mismo que pasó hace como un mes que vimos un aumento de como de 13 de un día para el otro a través de un fin de semana, y ese es el sistema de reportaje del Estado. El Estado a veces aumenta y se acumulan los exámenes, y después de un día para el otro te dan un número de aumento que es fuera de lo normal. A finales de la semana pasada yo creo que teníamos como 84, 86 casos, y ahora hoy tenemos 96. Yo creo que fue eso. Lo más importante, Mayor, and you'll agree, is the number one thing that you could always do, regardless of whether it's required by the law or it's required by the city of Miami or some other entity, the number one thing that you could always do is always have your face mask with you. Even if you go out to walk, put it in your back pocket. If you get in any situation where social distancing cannot be observed, then put your mask on. Anytime you go indoors, as the mayor was saying, that's important. But anytime that you cannot social distance, have your mask ready so you can just put it on regardless of what you're doing. And I think if you use that as a guide, you'll always be safe.
So we have a question through Facebook. Analia asks, can you please remind people to dispose their used masks and gloves in the proper method?
Personal responsibility is so important. I know the question was, can we make sure that folks dispose of their masks or their gloves? Especially, we saw that happen at the beginning at Publix, at Winn-Dixie, at places where folks were shopping, that they were just throwing it on the ground. So yeah, personal responsibility is so important, not only from wearing your mask, but disposing of things properly, right? And I think our motto here in our community is growing beautifully, and we can't do that without you. So we do ask for the public to please grow beautifully with us. And dispose of stuff properly. Just walk over and throw things away. I know it's easy just to throw on the floor. Somebody else will pick it up, but that's not the point. We have folks that work for us that go around and pick up litter. I mean, if we would all be doing the right thing, maybe we can repurpose those positions for something else. But we have to do it. But part of that is personal responsibility. I don't know if you want to chime in.
No, yeah. I mean, we all live here in the town of Miami Lakes for a reason, right? Because it's such a beautiful place to live. So anything that people do to erode or cut away at that beauty, I think is a bad thing. So as the mayor was saying, each and every one of us need to take our own personal responsibility. You forget about the mask and gloves. Even if it's just a tissue paper or things of that nature, make sure that you discard it in the right way. Make sure you put it in a trash can. There's trash cans all over town. Almost every single building, whether it's a supermarket or an office building or town hall, near the entrance, you're always going to find a garbage can. So please make sure that we don't destroy the beauty of the reason why we all moved here to Miami Lakes, and it's for the beauty of it. Let's make sure that we take responsibility and not destroy it.
And it's gotten better. It was pretty bad at the beginning of COVID, but it's definitely gotten progressively better. So,
yes.
Y la pregunta era qué está pasando con las personas que tiran sus guantes, sus máscaras para el piso. Todo el mundo tiene una responsabilidad personal de trabajar con la ciudad, de trabajar con todo el mundo en la sociedad para estar seguro que la ciudad siga una ciudad bonita, que las calles estén limpias, que todo, y eso no es nada más que pasa con el gobierno trabajando haciéndolo. Nosotros tenemos personas que trabajan para nosotros, para la ciudad, que recogen cosas que están en la calle, pero trabaja cuando todo el mundo trabaja junto y está junto en nuestra comunidad. Pero se ha mejorado un poquitivo desde el principio. Al principio eran hasta bien artículos en los periódicos sobre las personas tirando cosas para el piso, pero ya se mejora un poquito sobre ese problema. Are there any questions?
Yes, Alice asks, are there any updates on the playgrounds as well as the library opening?
Are there any updates regarding the playgrounds in our community and what's going on with the Miami-Dade County Libraries?
Yeah, as we said a while back, a few days ago, the county is waiting for things to kind of normalize it. And I think we've kind of started to see the beginnings of it. So I think that the playgrounds are still closed based on a county emergency order. Also, with the libraries, those will not be reopening until we can have gatherings of larger than 10 people. As you know, indoor spaces and any gatherings of greater than 10 people are prohibited. So once we get to the point where we can have gatherings that are larger, which will be probably in the next phase, I think the next phase calls for allowing for gatherings of up to 50 people. I think that at that point then we'll be able to reopen the libraries.
You know, it's a difficult thing. Personally, I believe that our playground should be open already, right? At all of our 97 parks, I've talked to the county mayor. He's told me, you know, he will follow the lead of the infectious disease experts at UM and FIU. So we'll keep having those conversations. I think it's so, especially with summer. I mean, think about it. It's summertime and you can't use the tot lot across the street from your house. You can't walk to the tot lot down the street. So we're going to keep advocating on your behalf. Hopefully those get open sooner rather than later, but we got to obviously do it in a manner that we don't continue seeing increases, because like we said, we got to protect the most vulnerable. So part of that is making sure that our kids, our parents, everybody's protected, because what we don't want to see is that more of our seniors get COVID-19 or are the most vulnerable, and I know that happens by contact with family members and whatnot. So let's make sure that we continue doing the right thing. But yeah, I would love to see that going forward, and our library system open up soon. I know part of that library system has been working hopefully on some renovations in the future. I know that they had promised our community not too long ago to do those renovations, so I'm crossing my fingers that those renovations should be happening now since they're closed, right? So I know the manager is going to be reaching out to them. Anything else, Brandon?
I don't see any more questions on any of the channels, sir.
So no more questions. You know, let us know. We'll give you another 30 seconds to chime in. Let us know if there's anything else you want to talk to us about. Some good news, right? July 4th, moving forward here in our community. What day is July 4th? I believe is next week, correct, Brandon?
Yes, sir.
And so it's right around the corner. It's going to be a great celebration. Details for that are going to be coming out soon. So check out, follow the Town of Miami Lakes on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all over the YouTube. We're going to put all that information out on social media, so make sure you get that. We'll also be emailing you. So if you don't have social media, sign up for our email list. We're going to be sending you an email with all the details for that, because it's going to be a little different, right? We're not going to be able to congregate at the park, but we are moving forward with the fireworks display. You're going to be able to park. You're going to be able to watch from home. We're going to have some live streaming, hopefully some different videos and things for the community. Some good news too. July 10th. The drive-in movie theater. Our Movies at the Park series, obviously we can't do them anymore at the park. They just got repurposed to a drive-in movie theater. How cool is that, right? We're going to go from doing that at Picnic Park West, and we have partnered with Ana G. Mendez University. That's right off of, right near on 82nd Ave and 154th, actually 79th Court and 154th, across from the Burger King. That entire parking lot is going to be turned into a pop-up movie theater, drive-in movie theater on July 10th at 7:30 p.m. We're going to be watching Sonic on the movies that night, which is going to be great. Un recuerdo de dos cosas bien bonitas que están pasando aquí. Julio 4, el día de la independencia de nuestro país. Vamos a seguir para adelante con el evento entero, los fireworks, los fuegos artificiales, todo, pero la información esa va a estar saliendo en los próximos días, dónde se pueden parquear, dónde lo puede ver, dónde se puede ver por el internet y todo lo que va a pasar. Y julio 10 a las 7:30 en la Universidad Ana G. Méndez vamos a hacer un teatro donde vamos a ver películas, pero en el carro, ¿verdad? Un teatro de automóviles.
Sí, al aire libre.
Al aire libre, pero en su carro. Es una cosa tan interesante. Lo estamos haciendo porque sabemos la importancia de seguir trayendo la comunidad junta. We'll keep doing these events because we know how important it is to build our community, to continue having these community building events, to continue bringing our community together, especially in these difficult times. It's so important for our town to come together, have a good time, put a smile on your face, and I think continue, participating together. Anything else, Mr. Manager?
No, I just want to remind everybody that the key is making sure that we cover our faces. All the other things that we do with hand washing and everything are important, but I think the number one thing is the facial covering. So, as a guide, anytime you should always carry it with you, whether you use it or not, or it's not a big deal, but always have it with you. So if you find yourself in an area that you cannot social distance, put it on. That way we all be safe. Make sure that those that you're around are safe, and they'll make sure that you're safe.
So you heard it. I think we have another question. Brandon?
Maria asks, what about the Community Mental Health Center? When can they open up?
The Community Mental Health Centers, when can they open up, Mr. Manager?
Well, if they're a business, they should be able to be open already. As long as they observe social distancing, they have limitations. They need to make sure that if you look on our webpage, Miami Lakes, -fl.gov www.cdc.gov/coronavirus. You'll find our resource page. On there is the link to the guidebook. In that guidebook is exactly all of the guidelines for each and every kind of business. Really, the only kind of businesses that are not allowed at this time are businesses where a lot of people congregate, like the theater, the play theater on Main Street. Those are the only kind of businesses that cannot open. Other businesses should be able to open with certain guidelines, and the restrictions and all the limitations are listed in that guidebook.
Yeah, definitely. Let's look at that guidebook. If you still have questions and are unsure about the guidelines or your particular business, reach out to us. We'll have a conversation with you. We'll bring in the town attorneys to give you an opinion as to what's going on. But yeah, we want to make sure that everybody's open as soon as possible and following the proper guidelines. Anything else, Brandon? I think we're good. I want to thank you, Miami Lakers. Thank you for tuning in. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you for all the sacrifices that you all have made all these months. I think you're seeing little by little our economy as a whole stabilize. I think some of the stats that really hit me hard, and I know the manager and everybody here, is what we saw nationally, right, with small businesses. 22% of small businesses closed their doors during the pandemic, and I think due to the pandemic, and I think that is very, very tough news. The good news is that you're starting to see some of these businesses getting repurposed, reopening. I think you saw the projections on even the retail sales and sales tax projections throughout Florida, which is a good indicator about consumer spending, continue to go up, which is so important. And I think that goes back to what Congress did, and it was a bipartisan. You could see when Democrats, Republicans, Independents work together, the good things that can happen. The PPP is probably one of the better pieces of legislation that we've seen in the last 30, 40 years as a country, right? Specifically for small business owners. A lot of times you see the stimulus go to large corporations, go to different areas, but I think this is the first time you saw it go directly to where it needed to go, and that's one of the reasons you didn't see more and more, I think, businesses close their doors, and more folks are bouncing back today. But yeah, we're starting to see some good news in those indicators, so hopefully it continues in that trend, and we'll get past this, and we'll get more and more people back to work, which is so important. But thank you guys, thank you for tuning in. Mr. Manager, anything else?
No, just continue doing what we're doing, and I think that the light at the end of the tunnel, we can see it, right? So let's get through it, and I think we're almost through this.
Be safe.